Hi, I'm Keaton, and today we're going to be talking about e-collars. The first thing with e-collars is choosing an e-collar. There are really only two that I recommend, and that is the Mini Educator, which you can see right here, and the higher-end Dogtra, like the Dogtra Arc, that has about 100 levels. The reason for this is the lower-end models only generally have 8 to 15 settings, and you could be giving your dog a higher shock than they really need, and shut them down before the training session even starts. So next up is just kind of make sure your e-collar is turned on and then putting it on the dog. It's really pretty simple. I have a quick release style clip, but you can also use this belt buckle style. You're going to want to make sure that it's fitted high on the neck, and you want it pretty tight where you can just fit 2 fingers under it. In a minute, I will show you the proper placement of the e-collar on the neck with one of my dogs. This is Finn, and we're going to be showing you where the proper placement is. Like I mentioned before, you want it high up on the neck, never where the flat collar would go. And you want to put the unit on the side of their neck, kind of by their chin, just off to the side. And you want it, if your dog heels on the left, you're also going to want to put the e-collar on the left side of their neck. If they heel on the right side of their neck, whatever is on the outside facing. So you're going to want to make sure your dog knows what leash pressure means. Basically, how I'm talking about that is they know to comply with the command when they feel pressure on their neck. So if I want Finn to do it down, yes, and reward. So as soon as they comply with the command, you're going to want to let the pressure go and immediately reward them. So Finn, sit. Yes. Just like that. And then when they can consistently do that, then you move on to the e-collar. The first thing you're going to want to do is find the level at which your dog responds to the e-collar. So I never condone hitting your dog on an e-collar when you're not giving them a command, but the exception to that is when you're finding the level at which they work. But you always want to start off low. So I usually recommend starting off at a 3 or a 4 and working your way up 1 or 2 levels from there. You're just looking for signs that they felt something on the e-collar. So this is Finn at a 4. He's not really showing me anything. I already know Finn's working level is about a 10. So this is an 8. Sometimes he feels that, but it's not really giving me anything that he is. And there's an 11. Finn. And it can depend on when your dog, it depends on what type of threshold they're in too. So right there, I see that he is feeling something because every time I hit it, he looks away. And I should also add that Finn is already conditioned to an e-collar, so he's not going to respond the same way that a dog that hasn't been conditioned to an e-collar has. So basically, a dog that hasn't been conditioned to an e-collar is going to show you more obvious signs that they're quote-unquote uncomfortable, like flicking their eyes to the side, kind of moving around a little bit, turning their head away, different things like that. Next up is actually conditioning the e-collar. So you're going to want to use leash pressure and the e-collar at the same time. You're also going to be rewarding after you use it. So basically we're using the leash pressure as well because the leash pressure is something they're already familiar with. So we're adding in something that they already know to something that's new so that they have a sense of familiarity and it helps guide them into the behavior that we're wanting. Okay. Great. So if we want him to sit, we're going to apply leash pressure and hit the e-collar at the same time. So sit, yes, and then we're going to make sure we reward right away. That's what the dog is used to, is the leash pressure and the reward. You're going to do the same thing, just adding in the e-collar. You're going to want to do this over and over and over again until the dog has kind of understands what the e-collar means. They're not showing you any obvious signs of distress, stuff like that. And that's when you can kind of, if you're using it for off-leash purposes, you can start transitioning off the leash. I'd recommend for recall using a long line first, just as a safety net. For sit, stuff like that, make sure you're doing it in an enclosed area, just in case you do have any issues. You can always put the dog back on leash and go back to the first step.